What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, and being part of that movement. We've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Good to see people have already jumped into the room. Welcome, welcome. Certainly give some shout outs, give your comments in the comments section on whatever platform you're watching. And you're watching the Morning Vibe. And wow, first Friday in October in Toronto, the weather is massive. I mean, this is like spring bordering summer weather. And I remember Ryan's not going to be with us this morning, by the way. But I remember last month I was saying, Ryan, are we going to have another burst of good weather? And he said, no, I think we're done. I said, hey, but this is October now. Like I was saying, we'd get a good one in September, but this is October, and the next few days are going to be really wonderful. So if you're in the Greater Toronto area, if you get a chance to get out, this is the weekend to make it happen. This is the weekend to make it happen. So I see some people are already in the house. I already see comments here. Oh, Joy Plata, Grand Rising. Joy, have you been in here before? If not, first time, welcome, welcome. And also, well, why don't I just put it Grand Rising? All right. Joy says Grand Rising. Good stuff. And someone we know, Fitness IQ Cam, says morning. So how okay, Joe says yes. Okay, well, if I don't remember, it's my head, not my heart. Okay, that's what's going on there. All right, so we're got back to some things. It's been a pretty interesting week. Weather-wise has been great. Unfortunately, there's been people going through a lot of stuff who I know, and I've been using my energy to provide support wherever I can. A number of people transitioning. A good friend of my dad's, who's known for many years, passed away after a long battle with cancer. I don't know if it was prostate cancer or not, but it was cancer. He was in a hospital in the Markham area of Toronto. Then he was transitioned down to Sunnybrook Hospital, which is one of the best cancer facilities, if not in Canada, in the world. And you know, it's Financial First Fridays with Wayne Harris. He can certainly relate with that because Wayne is a overcomer of prostate cancer and spent some time in that hospital. That hospital and its team is one of the main reasons we're blessed to have Wayne Harris today. And I was in a conversation earlier on this week with a couple, and the wife said, "Hey, I want to tell you something I'm not going to tell anybody else." And I said, "What?" She says, their house was broken into. Jewelry gone. It seems there's been some compromising of their bank account. And it was funny because we were at a place, and there's a place to get coffee, and she goes, yeah, I had to, go and get a coffee and put it on my tab. I said, really? And what I did is I said, okay, what does your husband need? What can I do right now to serve you? They said, well, I think he'd like a coffee. So I went, bought him a coffee, took care of his bill, her bill, and that was it. It was a small thing. But at the time I said, what can I do at that moment to overcome? Fitness IQ Camp says, oh dear, yeah. And thank you for the condolences. I actually knew the gentleman that my dad knew also. He's taking it a bit hard, so I've been spending some time. And she says, I was almost going to say the M word to make a joke. No, it's not joking times right now. It's not joking times. A lot of people going through a lot of stuff, and not all of it good. My suggestion is, first of all, take care of yourself. But if you have the energy and the time, check in on other people. There's a lot of stuff going on these days, and it's really crazy, really, really crazy. But you know what? The weather is good, so if you're able to at least open your eyes every morning, That's a bonus. As I share as a story, many years ago, I was doing a sharing session with at the Salvation Army in downtown Toronto, and a lot of people going through a lot of challenging stuff who use the Salvation Army services. So I was at the front there, and I asked, "Give me a win." And there's about 25 people there. Give me a win. And a gentleman in the front row got up, half blind, and he said, "Dr. Vibe, I was able to get out of bed this morning. That's my win." Small thing, but a big thing. And that, you know, it's the small things that make it happen, family. It's the small things that make it happen. So really, really important. What else? And Fitness IQ Cam says, indeed. Ha! I agree. That makes me reminds me of a gentleman when I was younger, a good friend of my dad. His name was Fitzroy Dawkins, and Jamaican man, very proud, wears his shirt and his jacket with a puff and all that, and spoke very English, very regal, very regal. And I always asked, Mr. Dawkins, how are things going? He says, fine. Says, and when we had a conversation and I brought up a point and he agreed with us, indeed. So I haven't heard that outside of the Indeed website for jobs. I haven't heard that word in a long time. Indeed, Fitzroy Dawkins. Indeed. What else is going on? People are watching live. Do you have a win that you've had that you'd like to share with us? Let's share some wins. Talk to me. Let's make it happen. I'm really excited today. As always, we have on the first Friday of each month, Wayne Harris is going to be talking about a really interesting subject today, living benefits. Now, yeah, I spent the first few moments earlier on talking about people transitioning. What can you do while you're still here? What can you do while you're still here? Really, really important stuff. But yeah, Fitness IQ Cam, what's a win that you've had? Joy, what's a win that you've had? Anyone else watching live? I see you. I know there are people watching live. Give me a win that you've had. Give me a win that you've had. Uh, okay. Oh, so Fitness IQ Cam, I don't have any wins. Any wins? You have had wins this month. You're just looking for big things. You have wins this month. You got out of bed I don't know if you got out of bed, but you're open your eyes unless you're able to punch on your keyboard without looking. But I will be visiting Markham today. Shh, I will keep that quiet. I know what you're talking about. So I won't go any further at this present time. But I'm speaking that visit will go fine. That visit will go fine. I'm just thinking of anything else that went on this week. Oh, I've had a win. I learned something new since Wednesday, and all things being right, I'm going to show some of the results of the win, the second part of the win today on the show. So keep your fingers crossed. Uh-oh. And Fitness IQ says, I haven't slept yet. Uh-oh. That's not good. What's going on? I have to probably give you a call after we finish today. You haven't slept yet? Eh, that no good. That no good. That no good at all. Uh, oh, wow. By the time I was a little tired, I realized you were almost on. All right. So my question is to you, Fitness. When was the last time you went to sleep? I don't know if I want to know the answer. I don't know if I want to. Okay, being a woman messed up my sleeping pattern. Okay, understood. I know what you're talking about. Carry on. We shall carry on. Old song by a group called Kansas. Carry on, my wayward son. Okay. Well, Fitness IQ Cam, I'm speaking that you're gonna get some rest eventually. And if you fall asleep during the show today, I fully understand. But if you haven't, keep engaged. All right, we've got people watching. Don't let Fitness IQ Cam carry the conversation. We got other people here. And you said you woke up fully at 7 p.m. yesterday. Okay. All right. Well, while we're trying to see if we can get Fitness IQ Cam to sleep, what we're going to do is we're going for a quick little break. And then when we come back from the break, we'll do some housework And then we are going to come back with Mr. Wayne Harris with a great topic. And let's be engaged. So we'll be back in 30 seconds on the Morning Vibe on the first Friday in October, October 3rd. Here we go.
If the black dollar was not important, they wouldn't be doing these type of commercials to get your business back.
The same people who don't want gun checks, mental health checks, all for open carry, and when your kid gets shot in school, they offer thoughts and prayers. Make it make sense.
Y'all don't understand how our government works.
I think the lesson that we learned from that 4 years is how miserable people are. Their misery is contagious.
There it is. Primetime Saturday with Aisha and Lala. Saturday afternoons live at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, where they try to make sense of the nonsense that's going on in America. And I think some of the stuff going on in America is nonsense. Like the American government shut down again. And maybe when I get Wayne jumping in here, maybe he'll give you his takes on that, because I know he'll have some things to share. But let's do some housekeeping. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. We haven't hit 1,920 subscribers yet. Yet. We'd like to have that. So if you haven't subscribed and you're out to it, we'd appreciate that. If you have subscribed, much thanks. But also, whether you subscribe or not, tell other people about it. Tell other people about it. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and Substack. And what else we got going on? We have the Morning Vibe Discord group. Yeah, I'd like some more people joining that. Actually, I may be thinking about changing to another platform. I'm thinking about that. But we'll see what goes on. But you can join by emailing me at dr.vibe@vibeshow.com, or click on the link that you see on the screen. I'll be sharing that most of this information in the comments sections on most of the platforms you're watching this live on the replay. To advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm on. And I'm on a few these days. Email me dr.vibe@vibeshow.com. Also, cannot forget our good friend Dr. Tachi, who runs a great platform called Indie Soup Media. Independent content creators platforms, about 25 people, including myself, on it. So there's a lot of content that I do that's shared on that platform. But there is the YouTube channel. Again, they have 28,000 subscribers. We got to get it to 29. But remember, she's only been doing this great journey for how long now? About 18 months. And has that many subscribers. Remember, only 4% of all YouTube channels have over 10,000 subscribers. So something good going on there. And then finally, if you want to call in fact, I'd love you to call in. If you got a question to take any device, go to your favorite browser, put callme.rode.com and use the code FSPL8L, the letters. I was going to say letters. I haven't said that word. The letters in caps, FSP L8L. Put your name in. Make sure you have echo cancellation turned on. Push join the conversation, and we'd love to have you chatting today. Well, without further ado, as I like to say, we have Mr. Wayne Harris in the house. What is up, Mr. Wayne Harris?
I am doing well. Doctor, how are you?
Blessed, highly favored, magnet for miracles, solution for someone's problem, and Blackalicious. Man, brother, I know. Love the shirt on you.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit of the squiggles because of the video, but it's nice.
No, I like it. Is it a golf shirt?
It's a golf shirt.
Well, I like to say jokingly, I embarrassed myself about a week and a half ago. And a short story, during the pandemic, of course, no one was going out. And during it, I got a call from a gentleman who we keep in touch periodically. We played football and rugby in high school. Said, hey, man, a bunch of us guys are getting together from football and rugby. Come on, join us. I go, what? And this is a Sunday afternoon. I'm going, we're doing it on a Sunday. I go, okay, well, where are you meeting? We're meeting in the parking lot of our old high school. I go, okay, so let me be a nice guy, go there and say my hello and all that. Go there 3.5 hours later. and we're just standing up, no chair, just standing up, chatting and reacquainting ourselves. That has led into every year we all get together and play 18 holes of golf together, best ball. And one of the amazing things is one of my gym teachers, my main football coach is still alive. Still alive. But the camaraderie, now I am not a golfer. Not like I go maybe once a year and that's it. But I'll give you a success story, a win. Last hole, and we're playing best ball. It's a 70-foot putt. Right? So I said, you know what? As I know Wayne would say, you want to finish strong. Right? So I get there. I say, okay, let's see. Hit it. The stick was still in the tee. Hit the tee and just dropped out. But 70-foot putt.
Wow.
70-foot putt. So, that was a success story. But what's going on in the world of Harris, my man?
I was in Niagara Falls. It was beautiful. We had a company retreat for a couple of days. So we played the Amazing Race. So we actually created a version of the Amazing Race. We had to run around Niagara Falls and go to different pit stops.
Cool.
And all that. So it's kind of cool. I was a checkpoint judge to hand out the clues because I can't be running up and down with my hips that, like Shakira, my hips do lie. They don't, they're not the best anymore. So I kind of had to stay still. Angie was out there with me. We had a great dinner. If you've ever been to Peller Estates, they have a great restaurant up top. But if you go down to the basement, they have a cellar. And there's all these wine barrels. And there's a long table down there. We do a gourmet 3-piece dinner in the cellar. It's fantastic. So that was a weekend.
Nice. Just catching up on some messages here. I love you. JJ Mars, good to have you in from Colorado. How's government shutdown again? M3Ls has clapping hands. Good. Fitness IQ Cam says, you played rugby? Yeah, I did. She also says, good day, Wayne. She also says, mic check. You sound low, Wayne. Says your audio's low.
Okay, how's it sound to you, doctor?
Not too bad. Sounds okay. Okay.
All right.
You want to put it up a bit, it'd be great.
All right, put it up to here. How's that now?
Okay, that's a little bit better. Joy Plata says, Grand Rising, Wayne.
Grand Rising, Miss Joy.
And look who's in the house. Dr. Tache is in the house, says, good day all. All right, so Mr. Harris.
Sir.
This is, I believe, a subject that, again, not enough people are paying attention to enough, especially with the current, I'd say, the social economic conditions that are going on. Living benefits, how to get paid when you can't work. So I want to ask you first, what's the definition of living benefits?
So the simple definition for living benefits is the benefits that pay out while you're still alive. That's probably the easiest way to say it, right? So you have multiple benefits that you can get while you're alive. One of them is critical illness. We'll get into that in more depth. I sent you some screenshots, and we have disability. I don't think I sent you any screenshot for disability, but they're very different between critical illness and disability. But these are benefits that once you meet the criteria, these benefits will pay out until the end of the contract or until you run out of the money. So the difference between critical illness and disability is critical illness pays out lump sum, tax-free, and disability, depending on what type of disability it is, short-term or long-term, will pay out taxable or tax-free depending on who pays the benefit, whether it's you or your employer. Okay? So
Okay.
do you want me to get into the definitions yet, or do you have other questions? Does that make sense?
No, I think right now we're gonna flow with how you so M Triple L says Peller Seller.
Yeah, that's where I was.
And
The Peller Seller.
and that is Mr. Mark Lewis in the house.
Okay.
So yeah, you can go for it. I see that you've sent me some stuff. Now I'm gonna see if I can navigate to have that share going on. But start your roll and let's see what I can do to make things happen.
Okay. So first, let me tell you a story. My story. In 2006, I go to buy more life insurance. I'm working, I believe, at Alcatel Lucent at the time, and I'm doing okay financially. My wife is still a stay-at-home mom at the time. Kids are in full-day school, so I decided that I should get more insurance. Now, at that time, I wasn't in the financial services industry, so I was looking at um, looking at having 10 times my gross salary in terms of insurance. So I was looking at life insurance in this case. I go to get the 10 times life insurance. I had already had a critical illness policy for $200,000. So critical illness would pay out, again, lump sum, tax free. So I had critical illness for 200,000. I had bought it from a friend. I I go to get the insurance. They say, "Hey, you need to get a paramedical," which is basically blood and urine, blood pressure, so on. I said, "No problem. Strong like bull. Still playing basketball in the men's league. I feel fine." I get the blood. The nurse comes over. She does the test. I say goodbye to her like nothing happens. A couple of days later, I get a call from the company, and they say, "Call your doctor." I said, "Call
Mm-mm.
my doctor." I said, "Yeah, you need to call your doctor right away." I said, "Okay." I call my doctor. I call my doctor. He already had the results. He goes, "I need you to come in today." Uh-oh,
Today.
today. So I go. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
right. So I get in my car and I go see my doctor. And he says, "Hey, Wayne, come on, come right in. Have a seat." I said, "No, I'd rather stand. What's on your mind, doc?" He goes, "Well, you have cancer."
Wow.
Just straight up, you have cancer. I go, "What kind of cancer?" He goes, "Prostate cancer." I said, "Prostate cancer? Okay, I'll sit down." So I sit down. Why? Because my grandfather had prostate cancer and he died of it because
Mm.
there was no test for prostate cancer during his day. My father had prostate cancer and he had the surgery. He survived and he was thriving in 2006. He had it in 1992, 93. I think just when the PSA blood test was was available to Canadians. So PSA is a prostate specific antigen blood test that is not included in your regular blood test when you're under the age of 50 in the province of Ontario. I can't speak for other jurisdictions, but in this province, if you're a male and you're under 50, you have to pay $25 for the test, at least at that time. So I paid for it because I knew my father had it. 35, I was clear. 36, I was clear. 37, I was clear. 38 was clear. 39, I'm 3x my baseline.
Okay. So now for people, baseline, you may need to understand, may need to explain that to them.
So the baseline should be zero. There should be nothing going on with your prostate. So I'm checking my numbers, and my numbers are low, and they should be low because you don't have an issue with prostate. But now my numbers are 3 times my normal. So I'm at 3x. So they go, because you're 39 and one of the youngest people we've ever seen with this level
Oh my
in your blood,
goodness.
we want you to go for a biopsy. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of what the biopsy does, but it is not pleasant. And there's only one way to get to the prostate. And
Yep.
there's okay.
Yep.
I'll leave it at that.
Yep.
So they take what they call cores. They're actually taking pieces of your body on the prostate, and they're going to analyze the prostate with those pieces of your body, pieces of the prostate. They're going to analyze that in the lab and let you know what the deal is. Well, when they analyze the prostate, they find out that they took 12 or 16 cores. Okay. The analogy I will use is a staple gun. Okay, a staple gun. Think about a staple gun. Okay, that's
Gosh.
the analogy I'll use. And
Yep.
you're awake when they're doing it.
Yep.
Okay, you're awake when they're doing it. They do that. and they come back with 50% of the cores are cancerous, but it's localized to the prostate. It's not in the lymphatic system. So there's a prostate, there's a lymph, then uh, that's stage 2 is the lymph. Stage 3 is metastasized to other organs. Stage 4 is in the bone. And those are the stages from, again, back in my day. Maybe the taxonomy has changed, but that's what it was back when I was going through it. So they said you're stage 1, which means it's localized. And if you ever ask a cutter, if you ever ask a barber whether you need a haircut, if you and I walked into the barber would probably say there's something I can do for you. I can fix your eyebrow. Because if you ask a barber if you need a haircut, the barber's going to say yes. If you ask a car salesman if you need a new car, he's going to say yes. If you ask a surgeon whether you need surgery, they're going to say yes. Not because they're being malicious, but because that's how they get paid. So when I got that information, I took it better than I thought I would, because I knew my father had survived. So there's a 50-50 shot. My grandfather died of it, but my father survived it. So 50-50, and the medicine and the treatments are better today. Long story short, I decided on surgery. Hindsight being 2020, I don't think I would have done it, but I was sole breadwinner, 39, had a 8-year-old and a 6-year-old and a stay-at-home wife who were dependent on me, and I had to survive. And the government knows that I am, if you want to look at it from a business perspective, at 39, I still have 25 plus years of taxable income at a very high level that the government wants. They don't want me dying. So they were throwing everything at me in terms of testing to make sure I could survive, because, the healthcare system survives on taxes, and I'm paying a lot of taxes. Anyway, they come in. I go to something called Best Doctors, which is a program through my benefits. And Best Doctors will tell you who is the GOAT of whatever ails you in your town. So I go use that service, and the service comes back with 2 names. Three names. 2 at Princess Margaret and 1 at Sunnybrook. The ones at Sunnybrook, one was doing traditional surgery, one was doing the robot surgery, which was brand new in Canada at the time, 2006. Everybody does it today. But back in the day, he had less than 100 people that he had done it for. So I said, nah, I'm not looking for that. I want to go old school. I talked to the big guy at Princess Margaret. He was too busy. He couldn't do it. I talked to the big guy at Sunnybrook, and he was available to do it. And I went to him, and my results have been stellar. I've been, knock on wood, 19 years cancer-free, and my PSA has stayed as close to 0 as humanly possible because I don't have a prostate. But the reason
Wow.
thank you. The reason I went to Sunnybrook is because this doctor, who was a fellow at U of T, he was teaching what called nerve-sparing surgery. And what I mean by that is nerve-sparing surgery is the erectile nerves sit on the prostate. So if you yank out the prostate, you have no erectile function. I was 39 years old. So think about that for a second, going for the rest of your life with no erectile function. And I'm married. All right. My wife is very good looking. Right?
Yes, she is.
Okay. So I need to have erectile function. So this doctor was one of the pioneers in what they call nerve-sparing surgery. And what nerve-sparing surgery means is that you peel the nerves off the prostate like a grape, take the prostate out, and put the nerves back, and the nerves regenerate over time. So I would have function. And he was the GOAT at doing that. That's why I chose Sunnybrook, right? Both my wife and I are very happy about that decision. So
Yes.
long story short, and why it relates to critical illness is once I found out I had prostate cancer, I went into battle mode to find the best doctor. And
You're on the offensive. You're on
Right.
the offensive.
But I called the guy, the friend who sold me the policy, and said, I have prostate cancer. It's one of the 25 illnesses covered. I'd like my $200,000, please. To which he responds, you have an exclusion for prostate cancer on your policy. Why did I get the critical illness insurance? To cover prostate cancer. Why did I come to him? Because he's a brethren. He sold me a policy that did not include the one thing that I wanted the policy for. And to say I was mad is an understatement. To say I was disappointed in myself for not reading the fine print was an understatement. but it's one of the impetuses that put me into the industry that I'm in today, because people are doing people dirty in all industries, but especially in this industry. And I was, if I didn't have a wife and 2 kids and a couple of mortgages at the time, I would have left IT, cybersecurity, and come into this industry and specialize in critical illness. In the end, I ended up doing it anyway, but it took um, 10 more years for me to figure out, to put my finances in place so I could exit T4 9 to 5 income and be an entrepreneur. But trust me when I tell you, when I go out and talk to people, yes, life insurance is very important, but critical illness is probably as important, because the chance of you getting sick are greater than the chance of you dying before the age of 75. Back to you.
Wow, there's so much. I'm going to do comments first. Powerful story. Ms. Weed Wiki Cannabis Educator says, good morning, Dr. Vibe and Cousin Wayne. Stanley Paul, morning, brothers. Fitness IQ says, I wish you were on Monday. I don't know why she's saying you okay. And Mark Lewis is going, whoa, he didn't know that story. I don't think he did. I'm going to try to pronounce this. If I don't get it right, it's my head, not my heart. Dialis de Regla Machado Migueles. Good morning, Dr. Vibe, and amazing to hear my coach Wayne talking real talk from his experience.
Thank you for joining. I appreciate you.
No, there's still some more comments. Fitness IQ Cam says, wow. And she says, backside.
Mm-hmm.
And then whoosha. Delia says, whoa. Miss Weed Wiki Cannabis Educator says, I still remember our conversation about this at the time, Wayne. I canceled my own critical illness policy immediately.
Yeah, critical illness works. You just have to make sure that everything that you want covered is covered.
That's always, and she, Dialis also says powerful. And she said, yeah, Monday was a discussion about Black men health. This is an important topic, actually, too. And last month was Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. With we had Anthony Henry on another one of my platforms. The Walamala says insurance is such a scam when you need it. If you find out the reason you get it and it isn't covered.
Yeah. So insurance is not a scam in any sense, especially in Canada and the United States. Insurance, when you don't understand what you bought, can come back and hurt you. So to me, as a licensed professional in BC, Alberta, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, and New Brunswick, Nova Scotia's on deck, I need people to understand what it is they bought, which is why we have a reason why letter that we give by law to every one of our clients, saying what it is you bought, how much it costs, and what. Hold on, something just happened. Sorry, I'll call
No
this
problem.
What it is you bought, what it costs, what's included, so you have a full understanding, and then you sign it, so that when days like my day come back, you can't say you didn't know. It says in the reason why letter that it's not included, and you said okay. Right? In the same way, I have some clients who say to me, I want $1 million of insurance. I tell them the price. I give them 3-4 different options from 3-4 different companies, and the price is still too high. They say they want $500,000 because they can afford $500,000. I said, fine, here's $500,000. I have to put in the reason why letter that I recommended, and it makes sense for them and their family to have $1 million, but they couldn't afford it, and they're getting $500,000. Why? Because 20 years from now, something happens to them. The wife is going to remember the $1 million, or the husband is going to remember the $1 million. They're not going to remember that they said they couldn't afford the $1 million, and they're going to come to me and say, "Hey, where's the other 500,000 that we're expecting? Because we asked for $1 million. Why is the policy only $500,000? We're going to sue you." I'm like, let me just roll up go back to the tape. Here it is. Reason why letter. Is that your signature there? Yeah. Can't afford $1 million. You have a $500,000. Yeah, that's why. Right. So we need to protect ourselves from frivolous claims and sometimes just mistaken claims. Now, again, in fairness to the guy who sold me the policy, did he tell me? Maybe he did, but I was probably more concerned in getting it as quickly as possible. I got it at 35, the critical illness policy. I was probably more concerned about that and not afraid of prostate cancer because maybe I was living a different lifestyle. My father was pretty healthy too, and he got it. I didn't understand how it ran and the things I could do to prevent or delay it. But anyway, that's why that's probably one of the biggest stories for having living benefits, because it's going to provide you income without you having to. It's not tied to your income. So what do I mean by that? It means that you can get critical illness in any amount you want. If you're making $25,000 a year, you can get a $100,000 critical illness policy. Now the insurance company is, if you ask for a $2 million critical illness policy, you make $25,000 a year. The insurance company is going to say, why do you need all that insurance? And if you can justify it, they'll give it to you, right? Insurance companies are not in the business of allowing you to jump too far socioeconomically with the insurance because it gives you an incentive to hurt yourself. Okay, this is why children can't have more insurance than the parents. Now you think about that for a second. Why can't a child have more insurance than the parent? Because it gives the parents an incentive to hurt the child to get the insurance. Believe it or not, as vicious and disgusting as that sounds. Okay,
Wow.
so critical illness can cover up to 25 illnesses. You can get about 5 or 6 more when you're a juvenile, but 25 illnesses. If you lose your sight, Dr. Vibe, you lose your hearing, you lose a limb, you lose an organ, all things life-threatening, heart-related, all things life-threatening, cancer-related for the most part are covered under those 25 ailments. And you get the money 30 days, cash, tax-free, after a specialist, not your general practitioner, after a specialist diagnoses you, you have to survive 30 days after the diagnosis in order for you to get the check. So people who have critical illness and don't survive 30 days, the policy does not pay out. But that's in writing when you buy the policy. You have to survive 30 days. So people will have a critical illness, in a car accident, and they're in a coma, and they know they have critical illness, but they don't survive the 30 days, the critical illness will not pay out. But you can add 2 caveats or 2 riders to the insurance. One is you can have return of premium on maturity. That means if you go from whatever age you are till 75 without claiming a critical illness, you'll get your premiums back. So you get your money back. 2, if you die before the age of 75, you will get your money back. So you have 2 ways to offset the survivability period of the 30 days, if that makes sense. I'll stop there.
There, first question that comes up, conversation piece. When you speak to clients, is there more pushback on insurance for when transitions or from living benefits?
Good question. What I find is there are some people that believe if they say the word life insurance 3 times, they'll die, like Beetlejuice, right? Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Life insurance, life insurance, life insurance, I'm going to die. So they're not ready to have the conversation because of religious, superstition, just how they were brought up. I find a lot of people who are I want to call it superstition, but these are the people who carry rabbit's foots and different things and play the lottery and do a lot of things that are not in alignment with practicality. These people will push back on life insurance. It's too expensive. It never pays out. I heard about a lady with a wooden leg and a glass eye who was walking backwards uphill who died, who had an insurance policy and it didn't pay out. So they have these reasons and excuses to not buy their life insurance. Life insurance is for adults. I'll put it that way. If you're an adult, you're an adult. Whether you have children or not, whether you have a spouse or not, if you're an adult, you want to leave a legacy of wealth or be neutral, not a legacy of debt. So if you're a single person, you don't have any children, you don't have a spouse, you should still have life insurance. Why? Because the life insurance can pay for your final arrangements, pay for your final taxes, so it's not a burden to whoever's in your orbit, who's next of kin. Why would you leave that to your parents to handle? Why would you leave it to your siblings to handle? Why would you leave it to your kids to handle? You leave them a disaster. I mean, we're not even talking about the will, living will, and power of attorney, which is mandatory for anybody over the age of 18, but it should be mandatory. It's not. But from my perspective, if you don't have those three things in place, pump your brakes on getting the new house, pump your brakes on getting the new car, right? Pump your brakes on all the crypto you're going to buy. If
Mhm.
something happens to you, no one knows where those things are. And the house always wins. Mark Carney and Doug Ford are your beneficiaries if you don't have a will. I'm talking the Premier and the Prime Minister of Canada, Premier of Ontario and the Prime Minister of Canada. They are your next of kin if you don't have those documents in place. And they're happy to take a pound of flesh because you didn't care enough to protect yourself and your family from unnecessary taxation. So all I'm doing is I'm asking, oh yeah, you want to invest, weighing RSPs, what are the rates of return? What's Tesla going to do? What's Donald Trump going to do? Do you have a will? Do you have a power of attorney for your property? Do you have a power of attorney for your health? If you're in a coma, do the people in your orbit that you trust know what your wishes are? Because if you go in a coma for 6 months and no one knows what they can do for you, and you come out, your credit is trash. Now you're trying to buy the house that you were going to buy, that you had put the pre-approval on before you went into the coma, and you were so excited. You had a car accident, and now when you come out, your credit is now 500. It was 700 or 800 when you went into the coma, but it's 500 now. You don't qualify for the mortgage, or the rate is double. You need to have these things in place as adults. And in our community, people are, I wouldn't say they're negligent. They're almost ignorant to the point that they're afraid that I don't make enough money to warrant a will. You know what? I'm in debt. You know what? I rent. I don't own a place. You know what? I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to pay a lawyer, a couple of $100 or a couple of $1,000 to do something when I don't own anything. This is not true. Anything you have is better than zero. You have a couch, you have a TV, you have, your
You have
your
assets.
yeah, you have your grandmother's. They call them bangles, the gold bangles from Guyana, and that my mother had, that my sister inherited. All those things are part of your estate. Right? I have a couple pairs of these. Now my son and daughter don't wear glasses, but if they ever do, they got 14 pairs of them that they can either donate to someone so they can put new lenses in, or use themselves. Everybody has assets over the age of 18, even if you're broke. The question is, do you want that to go to the house, or do you want that to go to your next of kin and your family?
All right, got some more people that have jumped in. Want to add epic comments at always epic conversation when Wayne's on. So just trying to. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Miss Weed Wiki, cannabis educator. It's all in the details, aka exclusions. I'm a claims adjuster full time. It's about contract management and enforcement. Also says the onus is on the buyer to understand the policy they bought, and the onus is on the seller, broker, intermediary to ensure the buyer understands. She puts that in capital letters. Understands what they bought.
Yes, 100%. Listen, I didn't read the fine print. I was, I don't want to say arrogant or cocky or whatever, but I was under the impression that my brethren would say to me, listen, I could sell you this, but you've told me your history with your father and your grandfather. I can't sell you this product. My company can't do it for you. Go find somebody else. That's what he was supposed to do. But he took the money. He took the money. And that's the unforgivable part of the interaction. He should have said, I can't help you. My company won't insure you. I think this other company will. Call this guy, tell him I sent you. Which is what I do all the time. Because I'm here for the client. I'm not here for myself. Mission before commission.
Ah, that's a barb.
Right? Mission before commission.
There we go. There we go. Love that. Love that. I love that. All right. So we are going to do something really quick and we'll be back in 10 seconds on the Morning Vibe. And Wayne is dropping knowledge, people. So please ask your questions.
Hey, beautiful people. I'm Tiana.
And I'm Marcus.
You are watching The Morning
Dr.
Vibe
Vibe
and
and
Ryan
Ryan
Knight.
Knight.
Keep it locked right here.
The best way to start your day.
Okay. So just a little. So that was a little thing something I've been working on. I said, let me drop it when Wayne Harris is on. Just a nice little thing. So you're going to see some more of that as we are going through. Other things too. If you want to get in contact with Wayne, and my question is, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? And it doesn't matter where you are, where you're watching this. Yes, preferably North America, but whatever, because I'm sure some of the questions you're going to ask, the answers are universal wherever you are. There's his contact information, website, email, Instagram, and it's in the comments section on whatever platform you're watching this live or on the replay. We have some questions in the house too. Look who's in the house. The Food Plane is here saying, hey, Dr. Vibe and guest, DS here. He has a question. What's the biggest, I think you may have already answered this, but what's the biggest misconception people have about life insurance?
The biggest misconception is that if you get it, you will die immediately.
Come on.
Right? Or listen, superstition rules.
No.
People believe that if you get life insurance, you're basically putting yourself on the clock for the reaper to come to your house and take you out. And it's obviously not true. The other thing is that life insurance is going to do you dirty. That if you go and pay all these premiums, it will never pay out because some fine print will get you. Well, the fine print got me, but I recognized the fine print and I blew past the stop sign. He recognized the fine print and he blew past the stop sign. He's a professional. He's supposed to stop me from making a mistake. He didn't do that. So he breached the trust by making me get that policy. He just said, no, I can't sell you this policy. If you want to get it from somebody else, but I can't sell it to you. And I would have snapped out of my hubris. Life insurance in this country will pay because after 2 years, you have 2 years when you put a policy in place and you get approved, they have 2 years to go find any medical history from anywhere on the planet that you have to see if you misrepresented your life medically. And if you did, they have 2 years to find that out. It's called a contestability period. And if during that time they find something that's wrong, they're going to come back and say, listen, we found out that you are a smoker, not a non-smoker, so we're going to charge you smoker's rates or we're going to cancel the policy. We found out that you're 37, not 34, so we're going to charge you at 37 or we're going to cancel the policy, right? They're going to make it right, but they have 2 years to do that. 2 years in a day, contestability is over and they cannot not pay for any reason because all the fraud detection they were looking for, they had 2 years to do. And if they did not find it, that policy will pay out 100% guaranteed tax-free after 2 years and a day, including suicide.
Wow.
Okay.
Another question. When Food Plane comes in, Mr. Harris, expect lots of questions. So here we go.
Let's go.
Is term insurance better for most people than whole life, or does it depend on the situation?
Great question, and it depends on the situation. Term insurance serves a purpose. It's temporary insurance for a period of time. So you can have a term policy for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. You can even have term 100. This insurance will only pay when you die. You do not get any benefit while you're alive with term insurance. So term insurance is great for low-cost insurance for a mortgage. You got young kids, you need income replacement. Let's say you make $100,000 and your youngest child is just born. You want that child to have your income replacement until age 21. You make $100,000. That's $2.1 million. Well, $2.1 million in whole life insurance is very expensive. But $2.1 million in term insurance, depending on your age, might be less than $100. So you can get a lot of insurance for a low cost with term insurance, but understand that's for your beneficiaries, not for you. You will never benefit from term insurance. 84 to 87% of all term insurance policies never pay out. People say, oh, there's a teeth in. No, They don't pay out because you didn't die during the term that you were supposed to die. If you
Mm.
bought a term 25 or a term 30 and you didn't die in that 30 years, term is not going to pay out. So term insurance can be used to get a lot of insurance at a low cost for things like mortgages, debts, school, all the different things you would need to leave for your family if you're not here. But term insurance is not for you, it's for them. 2, permanent insurance has 2 components. It has a cash value, which is this monetary amount that's inside the insurance. There's 2 buckets in the insurance. One is the cash value, one is the death benefit. Death benefit is for your family, but the cash value you can use. And you can collateralize this cash value or borrow against it, in other terms, and use that money while you're alive if you do it right, tax-free. So this is like an extra tax-free savings account or extra Roth IRA for my American friends inside the policy. And you can index that cash to inflation. It can't go backwards in the United States. You can't lose money with the IUL, Indexed Universal Life. In Canada, we don't have Indexed Universal Life. We have Universal Life where you choose the investment. And you could be as aggressive as all stock market, or you could be as conservative as money market. You choose. So what we do is we do a risk tolerance analysis, see where you're at from a risk tolerance, and we put you in to the investments that are going to meet your level of risk in the cash value. The job here is to make sure that whatever you're paying in premium will never be lower than the cost of insurance, because the cost of insurance goes up as you get older.
Yes.
So someone who is 80 years old pays more for insurance than someone who is 8 days old.
Yes.
Okay? But there's also something called level cost insurance, where the cost of insurance is steady forever. And the premium will always be here, and the cost of insurance will always be here. And all the way through level cost of insurance, you have no risk of the policy going backwards. When people sell policies to people over the age of 85, over the age of 45, they should be looking at level cost insurance. Because as you get older, you become riskier. As you get closer to the reaper, the
Yep.
cost of insurance goes up. So what we want to
100%.
do is keep that cost of insurance level, put the premium there. That policy will never fail you. So everybody on this call needs to go look at their policies and see if the cost of insurance is going up every year, because you run the risk of the investments not being returning enough to continue keeping the premium above the cost of insurance, and the policy will lapse. Not now, but maybe in your 70s or 80s when you need it most. So everybody on this call needs to look at what their insurance, how it's structured, to see if it's annual cost of the insurance going up or whether it's level cost of insurance across all the way through. It's a massive, massive miss by most people.
Another question from the food plane. Can life insurance also work as a form of investment, or is that a bad idea?
Depends on who you talk to. You talk to certain people who only sell term insurance, they'll tell you buy term and invest the rest. And I agree with that. Most people buy term and spend the rest. They don't invest the rest, they spend the rest. They go on big vacations, they buy cars, they buy houses. So the cash value in an insurance policy is not, in a whole life policy, is not exposed to market conditions. It pays a dividend. The dividend is not guaranteed, but the dividend has never failed to pay since World War II. So it's not guaranteed, but it's never failed to pay less than 6% since World War II. So think about this. Imagine a GIC with a 6% return and a death benefit. That's whole life insurance. You can't get a GIC that pays 6%. We had one that paid 5% a couple of years ago during COVID, 5%. But there was no death benefit on top of that. Imagine having a GIC that paid 6% and would pay out $1 million when you died. Well, that's what a whole life policy is, with no market exposure. It doesn't matter what Donald Trump is doing. It doesn't matter what's going on in the Middle East. It doesn't matter what's going on in Africa. It's people coming into the policy, people going out the policy, and they're buying private equity assets. No market exposure. That's why whole life insurance is the GOAT in terms of wealth creation and generational wealth transfer, because the cash value and the death benefit transfer to the beneficiaries tax-free. This is the key. We live in Canada, Dr. Vibe. If you're a T4 employee, you have one way to reduce your taxes. Well, now two. You have the RRSP, Registered Retirement Savings Plan, and
And,
you have the first-time homeowner savings account.
yep,
That's it.
that's it.
Add a
Wow.
third one, life insurance, done properly.
Okay. Food Plane goes, wow. Also, the Walamala says opposite of auto insurance, which allegedly decreases with age.
Agreed. Auto insurance, um, just like home insurance, will as you get 6 stars. 6 stars is the gold standard. And again, my cousin Kadisha's on here; she can speak to that. But if you have 6 years accident free, your insurance should stay fairly stable. But because insurance companies are exposed to a lot of things, depending on the city you live in, depending on your driving history, depending on the propensity for accidents in the area where you live, and depending on your age, all those things are factored in. But also because in auto insurance, those companies usually do property and casualty insurance as well. The forest fires, the floods, all the different things that can cause those insurances to change, those things will affect your rate. So you say, hey, listen, I've been driving for 10 years and never had an accident. Why is my insurance going up? Because they're paying for forest fires in Fort McMurray. They're paying for forest fires in Nova Scotia. They're
Yeah.
paying for drivers in the northwestern part of the GTA. I won't name the city. If you live there, you know what I'm talking about, right? There's certain 400 series highways that just are very, very prone to bad driving
Yeah.
tactics, let's just say.
100%.
And you're going to pay more because you live there. And
Yep.
if you live further away from that place, the epicenter is the most expensive place in Canada to get auto insurance. And it's walking distance from where I live, but I don't live there. It's north of me. I live in Mississauga. I'll just leave it at that.
Stop being around the bush. Just stop right there. All right. Hold your tongue. Hold your tongue.
I'm
All
done.
right. Fitness IQ Cam says, was that commercial AI? Well, I'm gonna
I,
let you. Huh?
I was thinking the same thing.
It was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was thinking
It
the same thing.
was.
Yeah.
All right. Ms.
Good on you.
Weed Wiki Cannabis educator. Exactly. A lot of agents care more about their commission rather than their client customer. Food Plane says, I notice a lot of young people don't see the value, but starting early locks in way better rates.
Food Plan, I love you, man. Thanks for coming in. Let me tell you this. Here's a hack for generational wealth. Baby is born. A baby is born. The first 14 days a baby is born, you cannot insure the child because of something called sudden infant death syndrome. So
Yep.
babies die for no reason in the first 14 days. We don't know why to this day. But on day 15, as soon as that baby is born, you apply for the social insurance number or in the state social security number. You apply. You're going to get a temporary card with the number. When that baby is 15 days old, before it goes for its 30-day checkup with the doctor, before they realize it has sickle cell, before they realize it has epilepsy, before they realize anything's wrong with that child, you insure that child. Auto approved, no risk, 15 days. The lowest possible cost of insurance you will ever have in your life. So now you pay the policy and you what we call overfund. So there's a minimum funding, which means the cost of insurance and the premium are about the same, and it stays that way all the way through. But if you put more money in the premium than the cost of insurance, the gap is massive when it's a baby. The gap is smaller when the child is older, but you have so much time of compounding. The rule of 72 says 72 divided by the rate of return is how many years is it going to take for the money to double. Well, you could put that kid into BlackRock. You could put it into some funds that are making 15, 16, 17, 20, 25% return. Why? There's no risk. The child should live to 100. Imagine compounding at 20% for 100 years without tax. It's a war chest of cash. I've done some of these policies for these people. They pay $300 a month. $300 a month is $3,600 a year. $3,600 a year, and they pay the policy for 20 years. 3,600 times 10 is 36,000. Another 10 is 72,000. If you follow me with the math, $72,000 out for a newborn baby, and they're paying the $72,000 from the child tax credit they got from the government. So it's not even, it's their money, but it's not their money. It's the government giving them $300 to pay for the policy. You know what that policy is worth, Dr. Vibe, when that child is 65 years old? There's 7 digits of tax-free cash by the time that child is our age.
And it's great you're sharing this point, because on top of that, so say that child is melanated and they're being mistreated in their workplace, they can say goodbye.
Right. And they can if they take the money out of the policy, it becomes income. And what's the second word in Canada after income?
Tax.
Right. So we don't want to take the money out of the policy. We want to keep the money growing in the policy by borrowing, collateralizing the policy. Take $100,000 out and go see the world. There's going to be interest on the loan. If you use the money for an investment that's qualified by the bank and CRA, that loan interest is tax deductible. So if you can borrow against your policy at 6% and put it in an investment that's earning 12%, you're making 6%. And because it's an investment, the interest on the loan is tax deductible. This is the way. So when you have a baby, grandparents should be looking at taking cash money out of their policy, not out of their policy, but take a loan and buy the policy for the grandchildren. This is how you get 3 generations of tax-free money. Grandparents pay the policy for the grandchildren. I understand the RESP, Registered Education Savings Plan, in the States, I think it's called the 529. I understand that. University is great, college is great, but having cash to do whatever you want, not just school, is amazing.
Mhm.
So if I have a choice between an RESP, Registered Education Savings Plan, or a 529 in the States, and I have a choice between that and the whole life policy, I'm going to split the money, because they may go to school, but they will die. They may go to school, but death is guaranteed, undefeated like Floyd Mayweather. So I want them to have both, because you can go buy houses with that insurance policy. And depending on what state you're in the United States or what province you're in Canada, you don't have to buy the house on your block. You can buy it in Manitoba, where it's cheaper, New Brunswick, where it's cheaper, Nova Scotia, PEI, where it's cheaper. You don't have to buy here. You can buy it in Texas, Florida, Tennessee, where the states are tax-free. You can buy it anywhere. You can buy it in Ghana,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's cash. Go ahead.
Food Plane says wow and wow again. Fitness IQ Cam says the rule of 72. Can't go wrong with it. Can't go wrong with it. Wendy's mentioned it many, many times. Let's see. Ms. Weed says, Wiki Cannabis Educator says, people sue brokers sometimes when a bad claim happens and it turns out they didn't have sufficient or the right coverage. All sellers of insurance provide products require valid errors and omissions and coverage.
Correct. So again, some people may be acting nefariously. Some people may be acting on just misunderstanding and ignorance. We have errors and omission, because I don't want anybody suing and taking my house or my cars because they thought I made a mistake. Whether I did or I didn't, errors or omission is going to handle it. And if they have to go to court, errors and omission will provide me with lawyers to help me defend myself. If I'm wrong, it will pay out and I probably lose my license. If I'm right, they're going to pay court costs and whatever, they'll work it out. But errors and omission is there to protect me from people who want to make frivolous claims.
Well, we're about that one up. We got this here. Food Plane again. What is the difference, if any, in life insurance in Canada than that in America?
Very, very different. And because I'm not licensed in a state in the United States, that'll change soon. I'll refrain from answering that question. But I'll tell you, in Canada, there are 3 types of life insurance. Type number 1, term, temporary insurance. But there's something called term 100, which will pay out for the rest of your life. So you pay one premium and the price will never change for the rest of your life, and it will guarantee to pay out to your family. Term 100. Shorter periods of term, the price will go up 3 to 5 to 8 times on the annual cost of the insurance at the end of every term. So the price goes up. Insurance never goes down as you get older, it goes up. Okay? So if you have a 10-year term, you're going to pay $25 a month for 10 years. At the end of 10 years, you're going to pay $165 a month for 10 years. At the end of 10 years, you're going to pay $450 a month for 10 years. So term insurance should be used strategically for the period of time that you need the money for. So you have a 30-year mortgage, you get a 30-year term. Mortgage is done, term, cancel. All right. Permanent insurance is legacy and final estate taxes. So we don't know when you're going to die. So we're going to have a permanent portion of your insurance policy to have enough for you want a funeral, 25 grand. You want cremation, 5 to 10 grand, depending on what you want to do. But if you want that to be inflation protected, you will have an increasing death benefit policy. So every year you live, it buys more insurance from the premium that you're putting in. So the insurance will increase. That's giving you an inflation protection of the death benefit. So 25 grand today versus 25 grand 40 years from now, very different. So if you only have $25,000 in flat insurance, inflation is going to eat into that. So it's only worth about 8 grand 40 years down the road. But if you have increasing death benefit, 25 grand will give you the buying power of what 25 grand will be 40 years from now. Does that make sense?
100% to me.
Okay, perfect.
Mr. Lewis says, I trust Wayne wholeheartedly. I read the policy he sold me thoroughly. Ignorance is never a defense. I love that take. Ignorance is never a defense. Do your due diligence with any contract.
I agree.
100%.
We have policies that are what we call deferred policies. And the deferred policy means it doesn't pay out for the first 2 years that you have the policy. You have to survive 2 years. And if you die within the first 2 years, it will only pay back the premiums you paid in. But the death benefit will only pay out after 2 years. And this is for people who have pre-existing conditions that are severe enough to warrant this type of policy. So if you have diabetes, sickle cell, lupus, fibromyalgia, certain autoimmune diseases, we're going to put you on this deferred plan. Show me you can get past 2 years, then the death benefit will kick in and pay out tax-free to your family. If there's any cash value in the policy I give you, that will also pay out to the family. Okay?
Nice. Dr. Tachi says, Wayne, this is such great information.
Thank you, doctor.
All right, good stuff. We're pushing on here, and family, keep the comments and questions coming. It's really good. So, Wayne, I'm going to ask some scenarios here and where living benefits can be a help. So, for example, a 35-year-old with dependents and a mortgage, if they're looking in regards to living benefits, what would you suggest?
First and foremost, they would have, if they have a spouse and dependents, they should have a will, living will, and power of attorney. So let's assume they have that in place. If they have that in place, then I'm looking at life insurance, and I'm looking for enough life insurance to replace the income so my spouse can pay the bills as if I'm here until the youngest child is 15, 18, or 21. So how much life insurance should you have for income replacement? If you have a newborn baby, your wife is going to need help until that child can work part-time. So that's 15 years of income replacement. You could do 18 when they finish high school, or you could do 21 when they finish university. Your choice. But the minimum bar should be 15 years. So if I have a 6-year-old daughter and I come to you for insurance, I'm not going to give 15 years income replacement. I'm going to say, do you want to have income replacement until the child is 15, 18, or 21? They say 15. I'm going to add 9 years of income replacement. You make 100 grand. I'm going to say 9 years, $900,000 of insurance, because that's what the wife will need to live the same lifestyle if you're not here. And they go, it makes sense. Now I can do gross income or net income, because 100 grand gross is not 100 grand net. 100 grand gross is probably 75 or 65,000 net. So I'll do 65,000 times 10, which is $650,000, and the lifestyle will be the same. Okay? So that's the first thing. The next thing I'm going to look at is critical illness. The chances of you getting sick, especially if you have a predisposition, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. You know what your parents have. You know what their parents died of. Different cancers, different heart strokes, and different things that your family has a history of. If you can get the critical illness young enough, the insurance company will take the risk and say, yeah, we'll pay out for that. We won't exclude it. Back in the day, critical illness was in its infancy. When I bought it, it wasn't really a thing. So I can understand why they would say no now. But there were other companies that would have said yes. He just didn't shop because he could only get paid on one company. So that's the difference between when you look at the agent. You go to the agent, hey, agent, can you only sell this one company's solutions? It's called captive agent. You can only sell for one company. Yes, that means if the company says no, you have no other options. That is correct. I'm not a captive agent. I'm a broker. I've got 7 different insurance companies I can talk to. If all 7 can't do it, I've yet to see it happen. I've been doing this a while. I've yet to see all 7 say no. Because once you've been doing it a while, you do the pre-underwriting in your head. Before I go fill in the application, I kind of know this company isn't going to, that you're not their jam. So I'm not going to send you there. So the 35-year-old needs to have will, living will, power of attorney. They need to have life insurance. They need to look at income replacement if they have kids. And maybe if you don't have any kids, but you want your spouse to have 5 years worry-free, so that person can go travel the world and kind of, mourn you in different geos rather than mourning you in Canada in February. They can mourn you in Bali or mourn you in St. Lucia or mourn you in South Africa. You can give them a couple of years of income replacement, pay off the mortgage, pay off all the debt, and leave them. They always said to you they wanted to go to get their MBA. You can put enough money for the MBA in the insurance, and the MBA will be paid for. So that's what I would recommend to a 35-year-old. We do a financial needs analysis. It'll tell me where you are, what's your cash in and out, what's your debt, what do you have for emergency fund, what do you have in assets, what do you have in estate planning, and what do you have in insurance.
Okay.
And it will give you the numbers. And then you say, here are the numbers suggested by our analysis. What say you? Do you want to do it or you want to do something else?
All right. Before I get to another scenario, Food Plane is back. And I think you've already touched upon this, but he asks, are there challenges to getting insurance when you are older, over 40?
Yes and no. 50 is really the age where things get sticky. But 40 is usually pretty good. 40-year-olds get treated pretty well because as long as you're in good shape, I do a height and weight. I've met women who are 5'1", 230 pounds, and they have a hard time getting insurance. And I've met men who are 6'2" and almost 400 pounds. They have a hard time getting insurance because mortality, height and weight will guide the insurance underwriters towards what your mortality might be. But if you're 40 years old and you don't have any major issues or you don't have any pre-existing conditions, there are companies that will definitely insure you at a very fair rate. No problem.
All right. Good stuff. Here's another scenario. A self-employed professional without group disability coverage.
Yeah, all day. This is what I'm doing all day. We have individual plans for companies that will do 1 person, 1 to 5 people, 5 to 50 people, whatever. We can do it all. You can get benefits to get your teeth cleaned, get your glasses, get your massage, your chiro, and all those things covered. Because why? If you pay it out of pocket, you might not be able to write it off. But if you get the benefit and you run it through your company rather than through your own hand, the company's paying the fee. It's tax deductible in the company's hands. So I see people say, yeah, I'm not going to buy benefits. It's $200 a month, it's $2,400 a year. And, I only go to the dentist once every 9 months. And, if I need a massage, it's only $80 each and I'm just going to pay that. Sure.
It adds up.
Sure, you can do that. But I know that when I go traveling, travel insurance is included in my benefits. When I want glasses every 2 years, I get $250. When I need anything done with these, after 3 years, I have even major and periodontal services included in my benefits. It doesn't start that way, but as you stay with them, you get more and more benefits over time. I have the ability to call a online therapist. I have the ability to use different tools so I can get a doctor to come online and give me what I need and give me a prescription. I go pick it up at my pharmacy because my doctor's unavailable, or it's Saturday night at 2:00 when my child has a fever. I can call a virtual agent and they're going to come on in
Yep.
10 minutes and take care of business. And they're licensed doctors. So if you are an individual and you are gig economy and you want benefits, we can do that. If you have a business, a corporation, if you have a small sole proprietorship, I can do it. If you have a corporation, I can do it. I can do more from a tax effectiveness perspective. I'm not an accountant, but I can do more when the corporation pays for it rather than you. And that way your net income stays exactly the same. If you're paying yourself $60,000 and you didn't have benefits, You can have the corporation pay. You can still pay yourself $60,000 because the money for the benefits is coming from the corporation, not from you.
Let's talk about living benefits and a situation that is happening more and more. Caregivers supporting aging parents.
Right. So are we talking about the parent? Because if the parent has critical illness, um, like Alzheimer's, which is covered by critical illness, it will pay out lump sum to help them with the caregiver. We didn't talk all about disability today, but disability, there's two types, there's short-term and long-term. If the person has short-term disability, that means under 90 days, they've been disabled, it will pay out usually through the corporation. If they have long-term disability, it has to start at 90 days and goes forward. If you buy a disability policy, you can choose whether you want the disability benefits to kick in day one, day 0, 30 days, 90 days, when EI is going to start 119 days, or whatever you want. 2, you can have it for 2 years. It'll pay out 60% to 66% of your income for 2 years, 5 years, or to age 65. You can pick. Obviously, the longer you go, the more it costs. But disability is not based on age. It's based on what you do. If you make bombs for a living, your disability insurance is very high. If you push paper for a living, your disability insurance is very low. If you're in the office all the time, disability is lower than if you're going to be out in the street, in the field. So a guy who is climbing trees as an arborist or a construction site is going to pay higher disability than someone who sits in the office and just takes the elevator to work. Okay?
Okay, got it. How can living benefits cover things like mortgage, rent, essential bills, you talked about out-of-pocket medical costs, childcare at home or home care during recovery, business overhead for entrepreneurs. How can living benefits help with those things?
Well, we have a benefit called Loan Protect. And what Loan Protect will do is you look at all your credit cards and all your mortgages and your car payments, and it will universal loan, and it will take care of all those things while you are convalescing. So your credit will be in exactly the same place when you come out of this. So universal loan is a tool that you can use that will cover all your debt. So this is something is disability insurance, but it's designed specifically to cover your debt. There's also disability that will do what we call overhead. You say, listen, I've got a restaurant and the restaurant rent is X and the fryer costs Y. You look at all the overhead costs that you have every month, and you can have disability to cover that so that you know that while you're convalescing, every bill is being paid while you're convalescing. Then there's traditional disability where you say, I make 100 grand, I'll insure for 60,000. I want it in 30 days, and at 0 to 30 days, you get nothing. So you use your savings for that. And then after that, disability will kick in after 30 days for 2 years, 5 years, or to age 65, depending on what you chose.
Nice, nice. I want you to talk about comparisons here about living benefits versus emergency funds.
Right. So living benefits can act as an emergency fund, but you're paying much more for them because the closer you want to get to the day you got injured, the more expensive it is. If you're willing to wait 90 days for it to kick in, you pay less. So if you have a tax-free savings account and you have a portion of it invested in something that can't lose money. So this is something like the money market where you're putting it in the TFSA. The TFSA, you can put $7,000 a year into it, and you can go backwards all the way to you were 18 in 2009. So for anybody who was 18 or older in 2009, can go all the way back to 2009 and load up their TFSA to the tune of $102,000. Now you have the Roth IRA in the States. I will not speak to it, not licensed. But in Canada, a portion of your TFSA should have a emergency amount. So let's say 20% will be in money market or bond funds or something that's very, very low risk. So you put $5,000 or $10,000 in there, the rest can go balls to the wall. But that $10,000 is there so that you lose your job, you got $10,000. You get sick and you're waiting for the 30 days for the disability or the critical illness to kick in, you have money. So we can do both, and I do both, and on the investment side as well as on the insurance side. And we'll do a cocktail of both that's customized for you at this point in your life And guess what? For free, every year, I'll review it with you to make sure it's still relevant. Because maybe you had a baby. I had a client in Ottawa. She's like, hey, I told her about the putting the insurance on the baby 15 days after it was born. That baby was born July 18th. She had the policy before the end of August. I said, she has listened to her boy. I was there when she got married, and now she has her first baby. She is coachable. That child is set to be a multimillionaire because her and her husband are on the same page. It's fantastic.
When should people, if they already have their living benefits, how often should they review it, what their policy is?
Yeah, annually. I just said it, annually. If you want to do it more than annually, you just holler at your boy, and I would do it on Zoom, or I'll come out and see you. Depends on what you want to do. But if anything changes, a compelling event, a child turns 18. It just happened for me. We got the policy when the child was 13 or 12 years old. Now the child's 18. Smokers' rates apply to children under 18. Right? Why? Insurance companies make more money if you're a smoker, and if the child is smoking secretly and the parents don't know, it's kind of what they do. So they have smokers rates for child under 18. But when they're 18 and they prove they're a non-smoker, the rate will drop, and then they have that lower rate until they meet their maker. So anybody who has children's policies out there and that child has turned 18, go and look to see if you're still on the smoker's rate. If you are, you should be able to show proof and get that down to a non-smoker rate, which will be at least 33% cheaper, usually.
How do you determine with a client how much income protection they should target when it comes to, living benefits, insurance, etc.? How do you determine that?
Yeah, we discussed this before. I look at if you have no children, if you're single, income replacement on insurance doesn't make sense. You're single, right? So we're going to take care of we call it DIME, D-I-M-E. We're going to take care of all your debt, car payments, mortgages, credit cards, lines of credit. All of it has to go. We get rid of that. 2, income replacement if you have a spouse or if you have kids, and we'll determine that based on the youngest child, or if you're going to leave 5 or 10 years to your spouse. You can leave more for your spouse. Maybe you want your spouse to live the vida loca. You say, okay, I'll leave 10 years or 20 years of income replacement if I die next year. And she'll be like 5 or he'll be like 5. 3, we need to pay off all mortgages. People have multiple mortgages. But you need to have enough money to not pay off just the mortgage, because the principal residence, there's no capital gains on the house. There's spousal transfer. But if you have a second house or a third house, you have to pay capital gains when you die. It's as if the house has been sold. Deemed disposition. Therefore, if you bought the house for $400,000, the house is now worth $1.4 million, and it's not your principal residence, you have $1 million capital gain staring you in the face. Now, what happens is that $1 million capital gain, 50% of it is tax-free. $500,000 is yours. The other $500,000, thanks to the Canadian tax regime, you're going to pay 50% on what's left over. It was worse when Trudeau was there. It was 66% above 250. Now it's 50%, back to what it was. That's $250,000 your kids have to come up with to keep that house. Well, where's that money? Well, you need to have that money in the insurance. It's the cheapest way to fund the capital gains taxes. Now think about it. Let's say the person is 65 and mortality is 85, and the housing goes up at 9%. Let's say, we have the situation we have now. Let's say 5%. I'm going to calculate 5% increase on that house for 20 years. And that's the number I'm going to insure you for, because should you live to 85, the capital gain is going to be higher than what it is now. If it's $1 million today, 20 years from now, it's going to be more than $1 million. So I'm going to calculate for that number at 85 and add that. I'm going to show you. And you say, nah, Wayne, they just got to sell it. I say, well, put that in your will. Put it in your will. Just sell it. So work all your life, 12 years a slave, to buy all these extra properties, only to give them away when you die. Or insure for the projected amount at 5% increase and add that to the insurance and just have your kids pay a check for those taxes, because the taxes will come.
Okay. I want to give some scenarios that you come up with. You may be be approached with when you're speaking about living benefits or insurance. People say, "Hey, I'm young and I'm healthy. I don't need this," or workman's comp is going to cover me," or "My savings are enough." How do you respond to people who approach that to you or to you?
Yeah, it's a great question. They say they're self-insured. I'm self-insured. I got money in the bank. I say if you have money in the bank and you die in this country, this money gets frozen. In Ontario, I'll speak about something called probate. Probate says, I want 1.5% of everything you have out there above $50,000. So you got a $2 million estate and you have probate, you're going to drop 30 G's for the privilege of being an Ontario resident when you die. You don't have a will, living will and power of attorney because you're that guy, great. The government's going to assign you an accountant, the government's going to assign you a lawyer, and they're going to pay themselves up to 5% of your estate. So you're going to take a $50,000 to $100,000 haircut to have strangers determine what's going to happen to your estate. Okay. Then, after CRA takes its pound of flesh, they give the rest to the named beneficiaries after it's been fully taxed. Or you can get a little life insurance, which bypasses the estate, sits outside the estate, have your named beneficiaries. Not only will CRA not know they got paid, the money is tax-free, creditor protected, and bypasses probate. So when someone tells me they're self-insured, the money needs to be outside of a bank or an investment firm. It needs to be in an insurance company invested the same way. Why? Because anything wrapped in life insurance is tax-free in Canada and the United States. So you do your investments. You want to invest? Hey, be an investor, but be an investor within an insurance company because everything inside the insurance policy is tax-free. So I can have an RSP with a bank. Yes, I can have an RSP with an insurance company. I die and the money's in the bank, probate, estate tax. I die and deemed disposition. By the way, if you have a non-registered account, it's not an RSP, it's not a TFSA, it's just you have money in an investment account, a non-registered account. On the bank side and the investment side, you can't name a beneficiary, guaranteeing the estate gets paid, guaranteeing you pay tax. But on the insurance side, you can have a non-registered account, you can name a beneficiary, no probate, no creditors, no estate tax. So hold my beer when they come to me with this foolishness, because I'm just going to let them know what the deal is. They're going to decide what to do. I want people to win, and the tax regime could change. But as of right now, insurance is the way people get it done. Even the Rockefellers would say, I'm going to have an insurance policy. Now they're multi-billionaires, maybe even trillionaires. You know what they're going to do? They're going to say the trust owns the policy. The insured is the Rockefeller, and the beneficiary is the trust. So when that Rockefeller dies, the trust, the money from the insurance, tax-free money goes into the trust, tax-free. Guess what? While they're alive, the Rockefeller does not use any income because the second word after income is always
Tax.
So what the Rockefellers do is they borrow against the insurance policy owned by the trust, live their best life. To tax the rich, you can't tax loans. So the rich aren't living on income, the rich are living on loans. Elon Musk will borrow against Tesla stock and buy a house. I'm going to tax Elon Musk. He's the richest man in the world. He's using loans against his Tesla stock. You
Yeah,
can't tax it.
exactly.
You can't tax it.
He's
So that's what they
leveraging
do.
other people's money, not his own.
Right. So when that Rockefeller dies and they have all those loans, the policy will cover all the loans, whatever they borrowed and used all their life, and the rest of it will go back into the family trust, making that thing massive. And they've been running this for over 100 years. You can do the same thing. I'm not saying you have to get a trust, but you can have life insurance on your children. You own the policy. The child is the insured. You're the beneficiary. You can use the cash in the policy because the child's a minor. They can't say nothing. But when that child gets married and you're tightening the bow tie on your son on his wedding day, you say, I've got something for you. What's that, Daddy? Money? Well, yes and no. It's a policy that I bought for you when you were 15 days old under the advice of my advisor, Wayne, who's sitting at table number 3, by the way. And Wayne told me that when this day came, take $10,000 off so your mother and I can go on vacation, but name you the owner, take our names off. You're still the insured. Take our names off a beneficiary. Name your wife, your new bride, as beneficiary. But we took 10 grand out because the policy was paid off in 20 years, or you're 37, so it's paid off 17 years ago. There's enough cash in there for us to take 10 grand, and we're off to Ghana after the wedding. But here's a fully paid for policy with all the cash value in it. And we didn't take the money as income, we took it as a loan. The policy will pay the loan off when you die. He's going to say, well, now I have enough for a down payment. Now I have enough for my MBA. Now I have enough to get the truck I wanted for my trucking company, because the cash value in the policy has been rolling with the Rule of 72 since you were 15 days old. Now you're 37. Mad cash in there.
Stanley Paul says, I decided to have this program as background listening during my workout instead of music. Well worth to hear Wayne's wisdom. Gotta like that. Gotta like that. I know, Mr. Harris, you got stuff to do, so I won't keep you much longer. But here's one or two takeaway things. What are the three most important policy terms to understand before getting into living benefits?
What's covered and what's not covered? You can get critical illness with 4 major illnesses, or you can get it with 25. I always err on 25 versus 4. More of a chance of it paying out. But if you don't have the money in the budget, we can do 4. 4 is better than nothing. Major cancer, life-threatening heart, maybe Alzheimer's, and that's covered. There's also companies that do 8 or 9, which will cover 93% of the things that could cause you a problem. And those are less expensive than 25. So 25, 8 or 9, 4. 4 being the minimum. That's one. Critical illness. Disability. Disability through work is fine. And if you are not working someplace where they're giving you disability, short-term or long-term, you can get your own policy. I have a policy for $14 that will cover you for $1,400 a month for 7 months. So you're a barber, and you're barbering with your right hand, and you go out and play soccer on the weekend, you broke your hand. Now you can get $1,400 a month for 7 months. It's the least expensive policy I have. No underwriting, approved in 24 hours. Then there's the underwritten disability policies that will cover more for 2 years, 5 years, or to age 65. So we need to do an analysis of your life and what you are doing, what you want, and what you can afford. And then I go out into the market with the 70 companies I have, and I come back with a solution that's bespoke for you, customized for you. And that's what I do every day. I love it. Let me tell you, 2006, getting that disappointment on that critical illness, I still tell the story here. It's 19 years later. I'm not vexed. I learned. And now I'm doing the right thing for everybody in my orbit. Whether you can afford $25 or you can afford $2,500, there's something that can fit you. And then I grow with you. And as you grow financially, then we can add more down the road. You don't have to go balls to the wall from the get-go. Get in.
Let's start.
Get in and preserve your age and your health. And then we can change things down the road and make adjustments. Okay?
Yeah. I know, just a rapid fire here. Any of these things that you didn't cover in regards to living benefits, like in regards to people with mental health and disability claims, women's coverage considerations. I know you spoke about gig economy and freelancers, but anything you want to talk about in any of those 3 areas when it comes to living benefits?
100%. 75 to 87% of our households in the Black community are single female. That means she is a single point of failure. As she goes, the household goes.
Yep.
Since Donald Trump has come into power,
Oh gosh,
318,000.
Black American women. Oh boy.
Okay, so you understand. So these women are at risk in Canada and in the States of being downsized, right-sized, and re-engineered. They need to have certain things in place to build resilience around their family. So as soon as they can't work, everything goes into credit and everything goes into debt. No, we need to start building a little bit of a war chest. I don't care what it is, to have money so they have time to breathe between roles. Because if you had my plan for 6-month emergency fund and you got laid off by Trump, you have 6 months of knowing your money is there to pay the bills for you to find something else, not immediately going into debt. So there's a higher propensity for women to get sick before 75 than men. So critical illness is more expensive for women because women have what I call reproductive organs weaponizing themselves against them. So breast cancer, ovarian cancer, cervical cancer, uterine cancer, right? These are the things that affect women more than guys. Guys get prostate cancer, or we have heart attacks because we eat fried fish and everybody want to go to Mary Brown's and Popeyes and this and that. And you're eating trash, and then we have heart attacks. So we heart issues for guys, cancer for women. Women have a higher propensity than men to get critical illnesses. Men have a higher propensity to die before women.
Yeah.
Okay, so life insurance for men is more expensive. Critical illness for women is more expensive on average. And I would say that if you have benefits at work, that's great. If you're tight for cash and you can't afford to do your own personal policy, level up on the benefits you have at work. So if you have one time your salary, which is a normal life insurance at work, you make $100,000, they'll give you $100,000, but they'll allow you to get up to 3, 4, 5 times your income at a group price, which is less expensive. I would prefer you get that because there's no underwriting. You could be a chain smoker, they're going to give it to you because there's no underwriting because you're a part of the group. If you can afford to do something with me after we do the analysis. But if you can afford to do it with me, mine is portable. Whether you're working here, working there, working somewhere else, mine will follow you. You're good, right? So I see a lot of government workers who believed before COVID they were bulletproof. Those who didn't get vaxxed found out otherwise. But if you have the ability to top up at work because money is tight and you want to work on debt or something else, and we'll determine that together in our analysis, better for you during the enrollment window to top up 3 times at work for less money than it will cost you to get the same money, the same coverage from me as a temporary fix until we can get you out of the financial bind you're in, and then you can get something from me. The other thing you can do is get temporary insurance, the lowest period, which is term 10. Get that now while you're in your 40s. Get that now while it's cheap, knowing that 2-3 years from now, your situation will change, and I can convert that to permanent insurance. But I've locked in your health in 2025. Listen, in 2005, I was strong like bull. In 2006, I was a prostate cancer survivor. That's how fast it happens. Since I'm a prostate cancer survivor, everything for me is more expensive going forward because I've had a pre-existing condition. Now the time frame has passed long enough that I'm not getting rejected from companies anymore because it's been 19 years. Okay?
Yeah, and 2 things I want to say before we close. That first of all, yes, a number of Black women have been let go from the workforce, not only in the United States but also in Canada.
Right.
But for those who are left, the strain that they are under in stress, because many of them are single parents.
Right.
So on both sides of the coin, it's quite challenging. And Wayne, I can't believe it's like 19 years ago we had that conversation in your room.
Correct.
Holy smokes! Wow.
I appreciate you visiting me. You were a breath of fresh air. I was there in that dark room in Sunnybrook.
Received.
Just
Well, you're
glad to be here.
Well, you're a breath of fresh air for me and many others. So appreciate that. That's a wrap for today, family. If you want to get a hold of Wayne, there's the information on the screen. I've put it in the comment section on all the platforms you're watching this live on the replay. Housekeeping time. If you want to get in touch with me, first of all, I want you to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't yet, because I'd like to come back next time and say we're at 1,920 subscribers. People say, well, that isn't that many. Well, realize only 10% of all YouTube channels have over 1,000 subscribers. Look at it that way. So like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack. As always, join our Discord group. Email me or hit the link that's on the screen. Advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms I appear on. Email me dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. If you want to get a hold of Mr. Knight, it's Ryan Oneil Knight, and that's Knight with a KN.com. LinkedIn, Ryan Oneil Knight. Instagram at Ryan.Knight99, and email address workwithme@RyanOneilKnight.com. With me, it's real easy. Just one simple link. taplink.cc/the Dr. Vibe Show. And as always, you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. and the Afro Caribbean Business Network on YouTube, and Ryan Oneil Knight on YouTube. So how we close it out: live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both and make it better. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith and walk good.
This whole thing of using your business with plant-based products, don't you think your life should reflect that too?
Juke him, Carolyn. Juke him. The family loves us here because they're saying Fitness IQ Can says put a wig on to get in.
Oh my God.
Like the ideas are just coming fast and furious here this morning. What? Okay, look at this. Global Women Ambassador. Good morning. Look forward. Okay.